The emergency beacon screamed through the medical bay at 3 in the morning. Dr. Marcus Webb jolted awake from his desk, coffee spilling across patient files. His hands moved on instinct, reaching for his uniform jacket while his tired eyes focused on the flashing red alert. "Another one," he muttered, running fingers through his messy brown hair. "That makes 17 this month." The Galactic medical station floated in the neutral zone between 7 different alien territories. Marcus had volunteered for this posting after his daughter passed away from a genetic disorder he couldn't cure. Working here felt like penance. Every life saved was a small redemption for the one he'd lost. His boots echoed through empty corridors as he rushed toward the emergency dock. The station was quiet at this hour. Most of the alien medical staff preferred working day cycles, leaving humans like Marcus to handle the graveyard shift. He didn't mind. Sleep had become an enemy anyway, filled with memories of tiny hands going cold in his grip. The docking bay doors hissed open. A small escape pod sat smoking in the landing zone, its hull scorched black from atmospheric entry. Marcus grabbed his medical kit and approached cautiously. The pod's design was unfamiliar, covered in symbols he'd never seen before. "Station I, scan for life signs," Marcus called out, detecting 4 weak biosignatures inside. "Caution advised. Species unknown." Marcus's heart rate kicked up. Unknown species meant unknown biology, unknown reactions to human medicine. Every procedure would be a gamble, but that was the job. He'd signed up to help anyone who came through those doors, no matter how many legs or eyes they had. He forced the pod door open manually, metal scraping against metal. The smell hit him first. Sweet, like vanilla and cinnamon mixed together, but underneath was something sharp, almost electric. His eyes adjusted to the darkness inside. 4 small creatures huddled together in the corner. They looked like cats, but not quite right. Their fur shimmered between purple and blue, depending on the light. Each had 6 legs folded beneath them and eyes that reflected gold in the emergency lighting. The largest one, maybe the size of a terrier, lifted its head weakly. Its eyes locked onto Marcus with desperate intelligence. "Hey there, buddy," Marcus whispered, slowly extending his hand. "I'm here to help." The creature made a sound, something between a purr and a chirp. Behind it, 3 smaller versions pressed against each other. Babies. Marcus felt his chest tighten. The adult was protecting its young. He pulled out his scanner, moving slowly so as not to startle them. The readings made him frown. Their body temperatures were dropping fast, and their heart rates were erratic. Whatever species they were dying. "Station AI, prepare emergency treatment room 7. Unknown species, juvenile patients. Dr. Webb, protocol requires quarantine for unknown species." The eye responded in its flat tone. "Override protocol, authorization Webb 7 Delta. These patients need immediate care." Marcus carefully lifted the adult creature. It weighed almost nothing, its body trembling against his chest. The 3 babies followed on unsteady legs, making small distressed sounds that cut straight through his professional detachment. They sounded like crying. They sounded like Sarah used to sound. He pushed the memory down and focused on getting them to the treatment room. The walk felt endless. Every few steps, one of the babies would stumble, and the adult would twist in his arms, trying to reach them. Marcus had to stop twice to let the little ones catch up. The treatment room lit up as they entered. Marcus placed the adult on the main examination table while the babies huddled underneath. His hands moved through practiced motions, attaching monitors, checking vitals, drawing blood samples for analysis. "Computer, cross-reference this biodata with all known species in the Galactic database." Numbers scrolled across the holographic display. Marcus watched the matches flash by. None of them fit. These creatures weren't in any database. That meant they came from uncharted space, from a species that had never made contact with the Galactic Council. The adult's breathing was getting worse. Marcus could see its chest struggling to rise and fall. He needed to do something, but without knowing their biology, Any medication could kill them faster than whatever was already wrong. One of the babies climbed onto the table, pressing against the adult's side. The creature wrapped its 6 legs around the baby, making that chirping purr sound again. The other 2 babies joined them, all 4 creatures tangled together in a protective knot. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. This was a parent trying to comfort dying children while dying itself. Species didn't matter. Language didn't matter. Some things translated across every form of life in the universe. "Not on my watch," Marcus said, his voice hard with determination. He began running every diagnostic test available. Blood chemistry, genetic mapping, cellular analysis, neural scans. Data flooded the screens around him. The station AI processed information faster than any human could, looking for patterns, for anything that might explain what was killing these creatures. Hours passed. Marcus forgot about being tired. He forgot about protocol and regulations. 4 lives depended on him figuring this out before it was too late. The adults' vital signs were critical now. The babies had stopped moving, their small bodies barely breathing. Then something caught his eye. A pattern in the neural scans. The creature's brain activity was spiking irregularly, like their nervous systems were overloading. He'd seen something similar before, in humans with severe sleep disorders. "Computer, how long since these creatures last achieved REM sleep state?" Based on stress hormone levels and neural decay patterns, estimated minimum of 72 hours. Marcus leaned back, his mind racing. They weren't sick. They were exhausted. Something had kept them awake so long their bodies were shutting down. But what would cause an entire family to stay awake until it killed them? The adult made a weak sound, its eyes finding Marcus again. There was something in that look, pleading, desperate, like it was trying to communicate, something vital but couldn't find the words. Marcus pulled up the escape pod's recovered data logs. Most of the files were corrupted, but he managed to piece together fragments, coordinates, a distress signal, and one word that translated clearly across the Galactic standard language. Hunters. Someone had been chasing them. Someone dangerous enough that this family had fled into unknown space, pushed themselves beyond exhaustion to escape. They'd stayed awake because sleeping meant dying. But now staying awake was killing them too. Marcus made a decision that would change everything. He pulled up the station's restricted medication database and found what he needed. A sedative designed for large predatory species. The dosage calculations were guesswork at best. Too little and it wouldn't work. Too much and their hearts would stop. He prepared 4 injections, his hands steady despite the weight of what he was about to do. This violated every protocol in the book. Using untested medications on unknown species could result in immediate termination and criminal charges. But looking at those 4 dying creatures, watching a parent trying to protect babies it couldn't save, Marcus knew there was only one choice. He'd already lost his daughter because medicine hadn't been enough. He wouldn't lose these patients without trying everything possible. "I'm sorry," he whispered to the adult creature, meeting those golden eyes one more time. "But trust me, please." The creature stopped trembling. For just a moment, it seemed to understand. Marcus administered the first injection. The sedative entered the adult creature's bloodstream, and for 3 terrible seconds, nothing happened. Marcus held his breath, his fingers pressed against the creature's neck, feeling for a pulse. The monitors beeped steadily, then stuttered. The heart rate dropped. 10 beats per minute. 5, 2. Marcus grabbed the stimulant injector, ready to reverse everything, but then the creature's breathing changed. It deepened, steadied. The trembling in its limbs stopped. Its eyes, which had been wide with panic and pain, slowly drifted closed. The golden glow faded behind purple eyelids. Sleep, real sleep, the kind that heals instead of kills. The 3 babies watched their parent with those enormous eyes. Marcus knelt down beside the table, bringing himself to their level. They backed away slightly, pressing against each other. The smallest one made a sound like a question. "Your parent is okay," Marcus said softly, knowing they couldn't understand his words, but hoping his tone would translate. "You're safe now. I promise." He prepared 3 smaller injections, calculating the dosages based on their body weight. His hands shook slightly as he approached the first baby. It looked up at him with complete trust, or maybe just complete exhaustion. The injection went smoothly. Within moments, the baby's eyes closed and it curled into a tight ball. The second baby was easier. It seemed to understand what was happening and held still. The third, the smallest one, tried to climb back onto the table to reach its parent. Marcus caught it gently, supporting its small body as he administered the final dose. "There you go, little one. Time to rest." All 4 creatures were sleeping now. The monitors showed their vital signs stabilizing, their body temperatures rising back to normal ranges. Whatever damage the sleep deprivation had caused was beginning to reverse. Marcus allowed himself a moment to breathe, to feel the relief wash over him. Then the door to the treatment room slid open. Commander Vrick stood in the doorway, all 7 feet of her crystalline form reflecting the room's lights in sharp angles. The Xinthian species resembled walking gemstones, beautiful and cold. Her voice resonated like wind chimes made of ice. "Dr. Webb, explain what you have done." Marcus straightened, squaring his shoulders. "I treated 4 critical patients using necessary medical intervention. You administered untested pharmaceuticals to an unknown species without authorization. You bypassed quarantine protocols. You have violated 17 separate galactic medical regulations." Vrix moved closer, her faceted eyes examining the sleeping creatures. "The penalty for such actions is immediate termination and imprisonment." "They were dying," Marcus said simply. "I saved them. You gambled with their lives using human medicine on alien biology. You could have accelerated their deaths. You could have caused them unbearable suffering. You acted with reckless disregard for proper procedure." Marcus met her gaze without flinching. "Proper procedure would have watched them die while we filled out forms and waited for committee approval. I've been a doctor for 20 years, Commander. I know the difference between following rules and saving lives. Sometimes you can't do both." Vrix was silent for a long moment. Her crystalline fingers touched the edge of the examination table, and for the first time since Marcus had known her, she seemed uncertain. "The station administrator has been notified. A tribunal will convene in 6 hours to determine your fate." She looked at the sleeping creatures again. "I hope your gamble pays off, Dr. Webb, for their sake and yours." After she left, Marcus slumped into a chair beside the table. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving exhaustion in its wake. He should prepare his defense, gather his evidence, maybe contact a lawyer. Instead, he just sat there, watching 4 alien creatures sleep peacefully. The smallest baby made a soft sound and stretched in its sleep. Its 6 little legs extended, then curled back up. Marcus felt a smile tug at his lips despite everything. "You better wake up healthy," he murmured. "Because I just threw away my career for you 4. The hours passed slowly. Marcus ran continuous scans, monitoring their brain activity, their healing processes, every biological function he could measure. The data was fascinating. During sleep, their cells regenerated at an incredible rate. Damaged neural pathways were repairing themselves. Whatever evolutionary purpose sleep served for their species, it was powerful. But something else appeared in the scans. Patterns he didn't understand. Energy signatures that shouldn't exist in biological tissue. The creatures' bodies were generating some kind of field while they slept, something that didn't register on any known scientific scale. Marcus was deep in analysis when the adult creature's eyes opened. It lifted its head slowly, golden eyes focusing on Marcus with perfect clarity. There was intelligence there, sharp and ancient. The creature stood on its 6 legs, stretched, and made a sound that resonated through Marcus's chest. Not just a vocalization, something more. Then it did something impossible. The creature's form blurred, shimmered, and changed. In the space of a heartbeat, it wasn't a cat-like alien anymore. It was a bipedal figure, roughly humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin was the same purple-blue shimmer, and it still had 6 limbs, but now 4 served as arms and 2 as legs. Its face was elegant, with those same golden eyes above a mouth that could form complex sounds. "You saved us," it said in perfect English. Marcus fell out of his chair. The creature caught him with 2 of its 4 arms, steadying him with surprising strength. Up close, Marcus could see fine scales instead of fur, and the shimmer was actually millions of tiny bioluminescent cells pulsing with light. "You can talk," Marcus gasped. "You can shapeshift. You're not just an animal. My name is Kellen. I am a morphin." The creature's voice was melodic, like several tones harmonizing. "We are a people, not pets, though I understand the confusion. Our sleeping forms are designed for efficiency and warmth. But why didn't you change before? Why didn't you communicate?" Kellen's expression became pained. "We were too weak. Morphing requires energy we did not have. We had been fleeing for 9 days without rest. Our hunters do not sleep, so we could not afford to either. Who's hunting you?" Before Kellen could answer, the 3 babies began to stir. They didn't morph, staying in their compact forms as they climbed onto the table. Kellen gathered them close, all 4 arms creating a protective circle. The babies made happy chirping sounds, nuzzling against their parent. "My children cannot morph yet," Kellen explained. "They are too young. In our species, the ability develops after the first year. Until then, they are vulnerable, especially now." "Why now?" Kellen's golden eyes met Marcus's, and in them, he saw fear that transcended species. "Because my children were born with a defect, a mutation that should not exist. Among my people, they would be considered an abomination. The Galactic Council has laws about genetic anomalies that threaten established species. When our medical authorities discovered what my children were, they ordered immediate termination." Marcus felt ice form in his stomach. "What's wrong with them?" "They cannot sleep naturally," Kellen said, voice breaking. "Their minds are wired differently. Without intervention, they will stay awake until exhaustion kills them, over and over, for their entire lives. I fled with them because I could not watch them be destroyed. I am their parent. I would rather die beside them than abandon them to execution." The pieces fell into place. The escape pod, the desperate flight, the sleep deprivation. Kellen had been keeping the children alive somehow, probably at great personal cost, while searching for help anywhere in the galaxy. "The sedative I gave them," Marcus said slowly, "it works?" "Yes. For the first time in 3 months, my children are truly sleeping. Not the forced unconsciousness I could provide with my own abilities, but real, healing sleep." Tears formed in Kellen's eyes, actual tears that glowed faintly gold. "You have given them what I could not. A chance to rest, but it's only temporary. When they wake up, the problem returns." "I know." Kellen looked down at the sleeping babies. "I was searching for the one race in the galaxy that might help us. The one species known for breaking rules when compassion demands it. I was looking for humans. I was looking for you." The door opened again. Commander Vrix entered, but she wasn't alone. Behind her were 3 members of the Galactic Council's Enforcement Division, their weapons clearly visible. Behind them stood a figure that made Kellen's entire body go rigid with fear. The hunter had arrived. It was tall, skeletal thin, with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that held no light at all. Its mouth was full of needle teeth, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like something dying. "The genetic aberrations will be surrendered immediately. Galactic Law Section 7, Subsection 43. Dangerous mutations must be eliminated to preserve species integrity." Marcus stepped between the hunter and Kellen's children. "Over my dead body." The hunter smiled, and it was the most terrible thing Marcus had ever seen. "That can be arranged, human." The treatment room fell silent except for the soft breathing of 3 sleeping alien babies. Marcus didn't move from his position between them and the hunter. His heart hammered against his ribs, but his feet stayed planted. He'd lost his daughter to a genetic disorder. He wouldn't lose these children to genetic prejudice. Commander Vrick stepped forward, her crystalline form positioning itself beside Marcus. "Agent Krell, you have no jurisdiction on this medical station. This is neutral territory." The hunter tilted its head, studying Vrix with those empty eyes. "Galactic law supersedes territorial boundaries when genetic threats are involved. These creatures are classified as dangerous anomalies. Their continued existence violates the Species Preservation Act. They're babies," Marcus said, his voice hard. "They're not dangerous. They're just different." Krell's attention shifted to Marcus, and being under that gaze felt like standing in a freezer. Different is dangerous, human. 5,000 years ago, a mutation in the Velix species seemed harmless. Within 2 generations, it had spread and corrupted their entire genetic line. The species collapsed into madness and civil war. 40 billion died. We created these laws to prevent such catastrophes. These children have a sleep disorder, Marcus argued. That's not going to cause a species collapse. It's a medical condition, not a genetic weapon. You do not understand morphin biology, Krell said, taking a step closer. The enforcement officers behind him raised their weapons slightly. The mutation affects more than sleep. It changes how their neural pathways develop, how their morphing abilities manifest. What they could become is unpredictable, unknown, unacceptable. Kellen spoke up, voice steady despite the fear radiating from her body. "My children will not harm anyone. I can control the condition. I can keep them safe. You fled your homeworld illegally. You violated quarantine zones. You endangered neutral stations with your presence." Krell's needle teeth gleamed as he spoke. "You have already proven yourself incapable of following necessary protocols. The children will be terminated. You will be returned to face judgment." Marcus felt rage building in his chest, hot and familiar. It was the same anger he'd felt watching Sarah's doctors shake their heads, seeing the pity in their eyes as they explained there was nothing more they could do. The same helpless fury at a universe that let children suffer for things beyond their control. "No," he said simply. Krell moved faster than Marcus expected. One moment the hunter stood by the door. The next his skeletal hand was wrapped around Marcus's throat, lifting him off the ground. Marcus grabbed at the fingers, but they might as well have been steel bars. "You have no authority here, human. You are not even authorized to practice medicine after your violations tonight. You are nothing but an obstacle to be removed." Darkness crept into Marcus's vision. His lungs burned. Somewhere far away, he heard Kellen scream. The babies woke up, their distressed sounds cutting through the roaring in his ears. Then Commander Vrix touched Krell's arm, and electricity arced through the hunter's body. Krell dropped Marcus, stumbling backward as his nervous system spasmed. The enforcement officers aimed their weapons at Vrix, but she stood her ground, energy crackling between her crystalline fingers. "I said you have no jurisdiction here," Vrix stated, her voice colder than Marcus had ever heard it. "This station operates under medical sanctuary laws. Any being that enters our doors receives protection and treatment regardless of their legal status. That includes these children. That includes Dr. Webb. If you wish to challenge this, you may file a formal complaint with the Galactic Medical Ethics Board. The process typically takes 6 to 8 months. Krell straightened, his body still twitching from the shock. "You would protect genetic abominations? You would violate council law?" "I would uphold medical ethics," Vrix corrected. "There is a difference. One you seem to have forgotten in your zeal." Marcus coughed, dragging air back into his lungs. Kellen helped him stand, 2 of her arms supporting him while her other 2 kept the frightened babies close. The smallest one was crying, making sounds that broke Marcus's heart. "This is not over," Krell said, backing toward the door. "The council will hear of this. They will send more than just me. And when they do, your protection will mean nothing." The hunter left, taking the enforcement officers with him. The door sealed behind them with a hiss that sounded far too much like a threat. Marcus collapsed against the examination table, his throat aching. "Thank you, Commander." Vrix's crystalline form seemed to dim slightly. "Do not thank me yet, Dr. Webb. I have bought you time, not safety. Krell is right about one thing. The Council will return with enough force to override medical sanctuary. We have perhaps 2 days, maybe 3 if we are lucky. Then we need a solution in 2 days," Marcus said, his mind already racing. He looked at Kellen. "You said you were looking for humans. Why? What do you think we can do that your own people couldn't?" Kellen settled the babies back onto the table, making sure they were comfortable before answering. "Humans are the only species that regularly uses medication for sleep disorders. Your people have developed hundreds of treatments for conditions like this. Your medical databases contain research spanning centuries. If there is an answer anywhere in the galaxy, it exists in human medicine." Marcus pulled up his medical computer, fingers flying across the holographic interface. "I gave them a sedative designed for large predators. It worked, but the dosage required could cause liver damage over time. We need something sustainable. Something they can use for life." "There is more," Kellen added quietly. "The mutation does not just affect sleep. As they grow older, the neural differences will give them abilities other morphins do not possess. They will be able to hold morphed forms longer, shape themselves in ways that should be impossible. They could become something unique in our species. That's why your people want them dead," Vrix observed. "Not because they are dangerous, but because they are different in ways that cannot be controlled." Kellen nodded. "The Council fears change. They fear evolution. They have made laws to prevent any species from developing beyond established parameters. My children are evidence that those laws cannot stop nature. They are proof that life finds new paths whether we approve or not." Marcus understood perfectly. He'd spent years watching medical boards reject experimental treatments because they were too new, too risky, too different from established protocols. Sometimes the biggest threat to progress wasn't ignorance. It was the determined effort to preserve the status quo. "All right," Marcus said, turning to face both Kellen and Vrix. "We have 2 days to find a treatment that works and figure out how to protect these children from the entire Galactic Council. Anyone have ideas?" "The treatment is your domain," Vrix said. "But protection, that I may be able to help with. There are loopholes in Council law, medical patents, for instance. If you can prove these children represent a new evolutionary development, if you can classify their mutation as a beneficial adaptation rather than a dangerous anomaly, then they fall under different legal protections. That would require genetic mapping, peer review, formal documentation," Marcus said. "That takes months, sometimes years. Then we work fast," Vrix replied. "I will contact allies in the medical community, researchers who value discovery over regulation. We build your case while you develop the treatment." Kellen touched Marcus's arm gently. "Why are you doing this? You do not know us. We are not your people. You risk everything for strangers." Marcus looked at the 3 babies sleeping on the table. The smallest one had curled up against its siblings, finally peaceful after months of suffering. He thought about Sarah, about the grave he visited every year, about all the children he couldn't save. "Because someone has to," he said simply. "Because if we don't fight for the ones who can't fight for themselves, then what's the point of any of this?" Over the next 48 hours, the medical station transformed into a war room. Marcus worked around the clock, testing combinations of human sleep medications and adjusting them for morphin biology. He ran simulations, studied brain scans, consulted with sleep specialists across human space through encrypted channels. Kellen provided everything she knew about morphin genetics, opening her own medical files, sharing research her people had forbidden. Together, they mapped the mutation, understanding it gene by gene. Vrix called in favors from across the galaxy. Medical researchers arrived quietly, reviewing data, adding their expertise. A Xinthian neurologist, a human geneticist, a Felixian biochemist. They worked in secret, knowing that if the Council discovered what they were doing, all of them would face consequences. The babies slept and woke, slept and woke. Each time, Marcus adjusted the medication, refined the dosage, searched for the perfect balance. The smallest one, who Kellen called Rin, seemed to respond best to a combination of human melatonin and a morphine neural stabilizer. The other two needed slightly different formulations. On the second night, Marcus was alone with the children while Kellen rested. Rin woke up and climbed into his lap, making soft questioning sounds. Marcus held the small creature carefully, feeling its double heartbeat through his hands. "Your mom is fighting really hard for you," Marcus whispered. "A lot of people are. We're going to figure this out. I promise." Rin looked up at him with those golden eyes and made a sound like understanding. Then the station alarm started screaming. Krell had returned, and this time he'd brought an entire council fleet with him. Red emergency lights flooded the medical station as Marcus ran through the corridors, carrying Rin against his chest. The small creature clung to him with all 6 legs, trembling but silent. Behind him, Kellen morphed into her travel form, gathering the other 2 babies as they fled toward the secure wing. Commander Vrix's voice echoed through the station speakers. "All personnel to emergency positions. We are under Council Jurisdiction Challenge. Repeat, Jurisdiction Challenge in progress." Marcus burst into the reinforced research lab where they'd been working. The other doctors were already there, frantically backing up data, securing samples. The Xinthian neurologist, Dr. Shard, turned to Marcus with her faceted face reflecting panic. "They are demanding immediate access. They have legal warrants. We cannot stop them. How long do we have?" Marcus asked, setting Rin down gently on a medical bed. "Minutes, maybe less." Shard's crystalline hands shook. "Dr. Webb, we are not ready. The treatment works, but we have not completed the legal documentation. We have no formal peer review, no official classification. Nothing that will stand up in a council court." Kellen morphed back into her humanoid form, her breathing heavy from the exertion. "Then we run. We take my children and disappear into uncharted space. It is the only way." "Running didn't work before," Marcus said, his mind racing through options. "They'll just keep hunting you. These children deserve better than spending their lives hiding." The door to the lab hissed open. Marcus spun around, expecting council enforcers, but instead found a human woman in a captain's uniform. She was young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and a confident stride that suggested she'd seen combat. "Dr. Marcus Webb?" she asked. "Who are you?" "Captain Sarah Chun, Earth Defense Initiative. Your distress signal was received by our nearest patrol ship. We're here to assist." Marcus blinked in confusion. "I didn't send a distress signal." Commander Vrix entered behind the captain, her crystalline form looking satisfied. "I did, under medical emergency protocols. Captain Chun's ship was conducting surveys 3 systems away. I took the liberty of informing her that a human doctor was facing illegal prosecution for saving lives." Captain Chun smiled grimly. "The Council doesn't have much love for humanity. We're too unpredictable, too emotional, too willing to break their precious rules. But that works both ways. Earth has been looking for a reason to challenge their authority in neutral zones. You just gave us one." "I don't understand," Marcus said. "These children," Chun gestured to the 3 babies now huddled together on the medical bed. "They're under human protection now. You treated them. That makes them your patients. Earth law says we protect our citizens and their dependents anywhere in the galaxy. Extend that protection to your patients, and suddenly the Council has to deal with human military law, not just medical ethics." Kellen stepped forward, all 4 arms spread in a gesture that looked like disbelief. "You would go to war with the Galactic Council over my children." "Not war," Chun corrected. "Legal challenge. They want to play games with jurisdiction and authority fine. Humans invented bureaucracy. We'll bury them in paperwork and diplomatic incidents until they give up. It's not as exciting as a space battle, but it's effective." The station shuddered. Something large had just docked with the main bay. "They're here," Vrix announced. "Krell and a full enforcement brigade, 20 armed officers." 3 council representatives. They mean to take those children by force if necessary. Marcus looked at the 3 babies. Rin and her siblings were pressed together, their eyes wide with fear. They were too young to understand, but could feel in every adult around them. He thought about Sarah again, about all the times he'd felt helpless watching her suffer, knowing no amount of love or determination could change what was happening. But this time was different. This time he had allies. This time he had options. Captain Chun, can you really protect them? As long as they're on my ship, they're under Earth jurisdiction. The Council can file complaints until the sun goes cold. Won't change the fact that those kids will be safe. And the treatment? Marcus asked, looking at Dr. Shard and the other researchers. We're close, but it's not perfected yet. Dr. Shard's crystalline fingers touch the medical console. The data is complete enough to continue research. With proper funding and time, we can refine the medications to be completely safe for long-term use. But we need time the Council will not give us. Kellen moved to stand beside Marcus, her golden eyes searching his face. You have done enough, Marcus Webb. You saved my children's lives. You gave them something no one else in the galaxy would, but I cannot ask you to sacrifice more. Come with us if you wish, or stay here where you belong. Either way, you have my eternal gratitude. Marcus felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. Stay here, face the Council's wrath, probably lose his medical license forever. Or go with them, leave behind everything he'd built, start over somewhere unknown. He looked at Rin, who chirped softly and reached one small paw toward him. The decision wasn't really that hard. I'm coming with you, Marcus said. These kids need ongoing treatment. They need someone who understands their condition. They need a doctor who's stubborn enough to tell the entire galaxy to go to hell when it's wrong. Kellen's eyes filled with those glowing golden tears. Thank you. The door to the lab exploded inward. Krell stood in the smoking entrance, surrounded by armed enforcers in full combat armor. His empty eyes found the children immediately. This ends now, the hunter announced. Surrender the genetic aberrations, or we will take them by force. All who interfere will be charged with crimes against the Council. Captain Chun stepped forward, her hand resting casually on her sidearm. That's an interesting threat to make to an Earth Defense Initiative officer on a neutral station. Want to try again? Krell's skeletal face twisted into something that might have been a smile. Human military posturing means nothing here. You have no legal standing. Actually, I do. Chun pulled out a datapad and tossed it to Krell. That's a formal claim of protective custody under Earth Medical Refugee Law, Section 12. Those children are now registered as patients under human medical care. Any attempt to harm them is an act of aggression against Earth territories and citizens. Ridiculous, Krell hissed. The Council will never recognize such obvious manipulation of regulations. Maybe not, Chun agreed. But they'll have to deal with the diplomatic fallout while they argue about it. And during that time, these kids stay safe. That's how this works. More figures appeared in the corridor behind Krell, Council representatives in their formal robes, their faces showing various alien expressions of frustration and calculation. The lead representative, a being that looked like a floating mass of tentacles and light, spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Captain Chun, Dr. Webb. This situation has become complicated beyond acceptable parameters. However, the Council is not unreasonable. We propose a compromise. Marcus didn't trust the word compromise when it came from people who'd wanted to kill 3 babies, but he stayed quiet and listened. The children may remain under human protection, the representative continued. However, they must be monitored. Regular reports on their development. Proof that their mutation is controlled and poses no threat. If at any time they show signs of dangerous evolution, they will be immediately remanded to Council custody. And if we refuse? Marcus asked. Then this becomes a diplomatic incident between Earth and the Galactic Council. Trade agreements suspended. Travel restrictions imposed. Tensions that could escalate into serious conflict. We do not wish for this outcome. but we will pursue it if necessary to maintain genetic security. Kellen made a sound of despair. They want to use my children as hostages. A way to control Earth's behavior. Or, Captain Chun said slowly, we use it as a way to prove the Council wrong. Keep your kids safe, develop the treatment. Show the galaxy that different doesn't mean dangerous. Turn their monitoring into documentation that helps other children with similar conditions. Marcus saw the genius in it. The Council thought they were maintaining control, but really they just agreed to protect these children while human medicine found a cure. They'd turned a hunt into a sanctuary without even realizing it. We accept, Marcus said before anyone could stop him. Regular monitoring, full documentation, complete transparency. In exchange, the children stay safe and get the treatment they need. Krell looked like he wanted to tear something apart, but the Council representatives were already nodding in agreement. Legal documents appeared on hovering screens, terms and conditions in 12 different languages. Captain Chun reviewed them with a lawyer's eye, making small adjustments, ensuring nothing could be twisted against them later. Finally, everyone signed. The agreement was sealed. The children were safe. Krell approached Marcus one last time before leaving. You think you have won, human, but I will be watching. One mistake, one sign that those creatures are dangerous. And I will be there to correct your error permanently. Marcus met those empty eyes without fear. Then I guess I better not make any mistakes. After the Council forces left, the tension in the room finally broke. Dr. Shard began organizing the research data for transfer to Captain Chien's ship. Commander Vrix coordinated with Earth authorities to formalize the protection status. Kellen held her children close, all 4 arms wrapped around 3 small bodies that chirped happily, unaware of how close they'd come to death. Marcus sat down heavily, suddenly aware of how exhausted he was. 3 days without real sleep, running on coffee and adrenaline, fighting against an entire galactic government. His throat still hurt where Krell had grabbed him. His hands trembled slightly from stress and fatigue. Captain Chen sat down beside him. You did good, Doc. Not many people would stand up to the Council like that. I didn't have a choice, Marcus said quietly. Those kids deserved someone to fight for them. There's always a choice. You chose right. Chun looked at Kellen and the children. My ship has a full medical bay. Not as fancy as the station, but it's got everything you'll need to continue treatment. We can set up a proper research facility, bring in more specialists, turn this into something bigger than just 3 kids. Make it about changing how the galaxy handles genetic differences. Marcus felt something stir in his chest. Hope, maybe, or purpose. The thing he'd been missing since Sarah died. Yeah, he said. Let's do that. 6 months passed like a dream Marcus kept expecting to wake up from. Captain Chun's ship, the Meridian, had become more than just a military vessel. It transformed into a flying research hospital, a sanctuary, and something Marcus had never expected to find again after Sarah's death. A home. The medical bay stretched across 2 decks now, upgraded with equipment donated by human universities, excited about the groundbreaking research. Word had spread through Earth's scientific community about the Morphin children and their unique condition. Suddenly, specialists in genetics, neurology, and sleep medicine were volunteering their time, eager to be part of something that might change how the galaxy understood genetic diversity. Marcus walked through the main research lab, checking progress reports on holographic displays. The treatment had evolved significantly from those first, desperate injections. Now they had a stable compound, a combination of synthesized human neurotransmitters and morphin bioregulators that allowed the children to achieve natural sleep cycles without harmful side effects. Dr. Webb, you should see this, called Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a young geneticist from Tokyo who joined them 3 months ago. She was staring at a genetic sequencing display, her eyes wide with excitement. Marcus moved to her station. What am I looking at? Rin's latest neural scans. The mutation isn't just affecting her sleep patterns. Look at these synaptic connections. They're forming pathways we've never seen in standard morphin biology. Her brain is literally wiring itself differently, creating new structures for processing sensory information and spatial awareness. Is that dangerous? Marcus asked, feeling familiar worry creep up his spine. Dangerous? No. Revolutionary? Absolutely. Yuki pulled up comparison images. Standard morphins can hold alternate forms for maybe 6 hours before exhaustion sets in. Based on these neural developments, Rin and her siblings will eventually be able to maintain morphs indefinitely. They'll be able to create forms other morphins can't even imagine. They're not defective, Dr. Webb. They're evolved. Marcus felt a smile spread across his face. This was exactly what they needed. Proof that the mutation was beneficial, not dangerous. Evidence that would force the Council to reconsider their entire approach to genetic variation. A chirping sound made him turn. Rin had entered the lab in her compact form, followed closely by her siblings. At 6 months of treatment, they were thriving. Their fur shimmered with health, their golden eyes bright with intelligence and curiosity. Rin bounded over to Marcus and climbed up his leg, settling in her favorite spot on his shoulder. "Hey there, troublemaker," Marcus said, gently scratching behind her ears. "Shouldn't you be in class with your mom?" Rin made a sound that clearly meant she'd rather be here, watching the scientists work. Her siblings joined her, curious about the holographic displays and blinking lights. The middle child, who Kellen had named Vex, pawed at a floating data screen, accidentally pulling up a complex molecular structure. "Careful," Yuki laughed. "That's 3 years of research you're playing with." Kellen entered the lab in her humanoid form, looking exasperated but amused. "I apologize." They discovered how to open the door panel. "I am still learning that children who can morph body parts to reach high buttons are much harder to contain." "It's fine," Marcus assured her. "They're not hurting anything. Besides, maybe exposing them to science early will inspire the next generation of morphin researchers." "Perhaps." Kellen moved to stand beside Marcus, watching her children explore with all the fearless enthusiasm of healthy youngsters. "I received a message today from my homeworld. The Council's monitoring reports have created unexpected consequences." Marcus felt tension return to his shoulders. "What kind of consequences?" "Other morphin parents have come forward. Quietly, carefully, but they have revealed that their children also show signs of the mutation. It is not as rare as the Council claimed. They have been hiding these children, living in fear, watching them suffer because treatment meant death sentences." Kellen's voice shook slightly. "Your research, our fight. It has given them hope. They are asking if there is help for their children too." Marcus looked at Yuki, who was already nodding. "We've refined the treatment enough that it can be adapted for individual cases. We'd need to see the children, run proper diagnostics, but yes, we can help them." "How many?" Marcus asked Kellen. 17 that I know of. Possibly more who are too afraid to speak up yet. 17 children. 17 families living in fear." Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle over him, but this time it didn't feel crushing. It felt purposeful. "Then we help them all," he said simply. "We document everything. We prove to the Council that this mutation is widespread, beneficial, and natural. We force them to change their laws." Captain Chun entered the lab, her expression serious. "Marcus, we have incoming ships, multiple signatures." "Looks like the Council is sending another delegation." Marcus's stomach tightened. The monitoring period wasn't over. They had another 6 months before the agreement ended. Why were they coming back now? "Are they hostile?" Kellen asked, instinctively gathering her children close. "Unknown. They're broadcasting diplomatic channels, but they've brought a lot of firepower." Chun's jaw set in a hard line. "Whatever they wanted to make sure we take them seriously." The delegation arrived 2 hours later. This time it wasn't Krell and his hunters. It was the full Council assembly, 20 representatives from every major species in the galaxy. They gathered in the Meridian's conference room, an imposing array of alien dignitaries filling the space with their presence. The same tentacled representative from before floated at the head of the table. Dr. Webb, we have reviewed your research reports with great interest. Marcus stood across from them, Callan beside him, Captain Chun at his back. And your findings are disturbing. Not because they show danger, but because they reveal our error. The representative's tentacles rippled in what might have been distress. We have discovered records of this mutation appearing throughout morphin history. Always it was eliminated. Always we believed we were protecting the species. Your research suggests we were preventing evolution. A crystalline being that looked like Vrix's species spoke up. The mutation appears in approximately 1 in every 1,000 morphin births. Over the past century, we have eliminated over 400 children. We called it protection. We called it necessary. We were wrong. Marcus felt Callan's hand grip his arm tightly. Her voice was barely a whisper. 400 children. We cannot undo what we have done, the tentacled representative continued. But we can change what we do now. The Council proposes a new policy. Genetic variations will no longer be automatically classified as aberrations requiring elimination. Instead, they will be studied, understood, and accommodated when possible. Medical treatment will be provided. Protection will be guaranteed. Why the change? Marcus asked, not quite believing what he was hearing. 6 months ago, you wanted to kill 3 babies. Now you want to protect them all? Because you proved us wrong, another representative said, this one resembling a massive insect with compound eyes that reflected rainbow light. You showed us that our fear was greater than our wisdom. You risked everything to save lives we had written off as expendable. You made us confront the truth that our laws were based on convenience, not compassion. The tentacled representative produced a holographic document. We are here to offer formal recognition of your research. Full council funding for expanded treatment programs. Legal protection for all morphin children with this mutation and their families. And a public apology for the lives we took in our ignorance. Marcus stared at the document, reading through terms that seemed too good to be true. Funding for a permanent research facility. Access to all council medical databases. Protection not just for morphin children, but for any species dealing with genetic variations. Everything they'd fought for, offered freely. What's the catch? Captain Chun asked suspiciously. No catch. Only a request. The representative's tentacles gestured toward Callan. We ask that you lead this initiative. You understand what these families face. You have lived their fear. You would ensure the program serves those who need it most. Callan looked stunned. You want me to work for the council? After everything they did to my children? We want you to change the council, the representative corrected. From within. To make sure what happened to you never happens to another parent. To turn our greatest failure into our greatest reform. For a long moment, Callan was silent. Marcus could see her processing it all, weighing the offer against the pain of the past months. Finally, she looked at her children, who were playing together in the corner of the room, completely unaware of the historic moment unfolding around them. I accept, Callan said. But on one condition. Dr. Webb continues as Chief Medical Officer of the program. His research saved my children. His expertise will save others. He must be part of this. The council representatives looked at Marcus. Do you accept, Dr. Webb? Marcus thought about the path that had brought him here, the loss of his daughter. The grief that had driven him to the edge of the galaxy. The desperate night when 4 dying aliens had crashed into his life and given him a new purpose. He thought about Sarah, about the promise he'd made at her grave to keep fighting, to keep saving lives, to make her loss mean something. I accept, he said, but I have conditions too. This program doesn't just help morphin children. It helps any child, any species, dealing with genetic differences that make them targets. We build something that protects all of them. Agreed, the representative said. We will draft formal documents. The council will announce the new policy at next month's assembly. Your research will be shared across the galaxy as proof that diversity strengthens rather than weakens us. After the council left, Marcus sat alone in the medical bay, watching the 3 children sleep peacefully in their beds. The medication worked perfectly now. They slept naturally, woke refreshed, and spent their days learning and growing like any healthy children should. Rin opened one golden eye and made a questioning sound. "Just thinking," Marcus said softly, "about how far we've come. How much has changed." Kellen entered quietly, settling beside him. "I cannot believe it is real. My children are safe. Others will be saved. The laws have changed. It feels like a dream. Sometimes the best dreams are the ones we fight to make real," Marcus said. He pulled up a holographic image, one he kept in his private files. Sarah's face smiled back at him, frozen in time at age 7, before the disease had taken too much. Callan saw the image and understood. "Your daughter. Yeah, I couldn't save her. No matter how hard I tried, how many treatments we attempted, how much I wish things could be different. But saving your children, changing these laws, building this program that will help thousands of others. Maybe that's how I honor her memory. By making sure other parents don't have to feel what I felt. She would be proud of you," Kellen said gently. "I hope so." Marcus closed the image and stood up. "Come on. We have 17 more children waiting for help. Let's get to work." The next morning, Marcus stood in the newly designated research facility aboard a council station. It was massive, state-of-the-art, equipped with technology that made the Meridian's medical bay look ancient. Scientists from dozens of species moved through the corridors, all volunteers, eager to be part of the Genetic Diversity Initiative. Yuki was already setting up the genetics lab, practically dancing with excitement over the equipment. Dr. Shard had arrived with 3 more Xinthian researchers. Even Commander Vrix had taken a position as facility administrator, her cool efficiency perfect for managing the complex operation. Marcus watched families arrive throughout the day. Morphin parents carrying children who hadn't slept properly in months. Other species with their own genetic variations, their own stories of fear and persecution. Each one represented a life that would be changed, a family that would be saved. By evening, the medical bay was full of sleeping children, all receiving treatment adapted from the protocols Marcus had developed. Parents sat beside their children's beds, tears running down faces of every conceivable shape and color, united in the universal relief of seeing their babies finally at peace. Rin found Marcus in his office late that night. She'd grown in the past months, almost twice the size she'd been when they first met. She climbed into his lap, purring contentedly. "Big day," Marcus said, stroking her shimmering fur. "Your story started something important, you know that." Rin looked up at him with those intelligent golden eyes and made a sound that seemed to say she understood perfectly. Kellen appeared in the doorway. "The last patients are settled. All 17 children are responding well to treatment. Their parents are calling it a miracle." "It's not a miracle," Marcus said. "It's just medicine and compassion, and the stubborn refusal to accept that different means disposable. Then perhaps that is what miracles truly are," Kellen suggested. "The choice to care when it would be easier not to." Marcus looked around his new office, at the pictures of patients already covering one wall, at the research awards starting to accumulate, at the future spreading out before them, full of possibility and hope. He thought about the scared, grief-stricken man who'd answered an emergency beacon 6 months ago, never imagining where that choice would lead. "You know what?" Marcus said, smiling at Rin and Kellen. "I think you might be right." Outside the window, stars stretched across the darkness of space. Somewhere out there were more children who needed help, more families who needed hope, more lives waiting to be saved. And for the first time since Sarah's death, Marcus felt ready to save them all. The alien cat babies who never slept had taught the galaxy an important lesson, that love defies species, that compassion requires courage, that the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't genetic mutation or evolutionary change. It's the willingness to destroy what we don't understand rather than take the time to learn why different might just mean better. Marcus Webb had defied galactic law to save 3 lives. In doing so, He'd started a revolution that would save thousands more. And somewhere, he liked to think Sarah was smiling, proud of her father for turning his grief into something beautiful. The story of the sleepless children had ended. But the story of what they would become, of the world they would help create, was just beginning.